Nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more, so that we may fear less. Life is not easy for any of us. But what of that? We must have perseverance and above all confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing must be attained. You cannot hope to build a better world without improving the individuals. To that end, each of us must work for his own improvement and, at the same time, share a general responsibility for all humanity, our particular duty being to aid those to whom we think we can be most useful. I was taught that the way of progress was neither swift nor easy. Be less curious about people and more curious about ideas. One never notices what has been done. One can only see what remains to be done. A scientist in his laboratory is not a mere technician. He is also a child confronting natural phenomena that impress him as though they were fairy tales. All my life through, the new sights of nature made me rejoice like a child. I am among those who think that science has great beauty. I have frequently been questioned, especially by women, of how I could reconcile family life with a scientific career. Well, it has not been easy. In science, we must be interested in things, not in persons. I am one of those who think, like Nobel, that humanity will draw more good than evil from new discoveries. After all, science is essentially international, and it is only through lack of the historical sense that national qualities have been attributed to it. If I see anything vital around me, it is precisely that spirit of adventure, which seems indestructible and is akin to curiosity. There are sadistic scientists who hurry to hunt down errors instead of establishing the truth. I have no dress except the one I wear every day. If you are going to be kind enough to give me one, please let it be practical and dark so that I can put it on afterwards to go to the laboratory. I tried out various experiments described in treatises on physics and chemistry, and the results were sometimes unexpected. At times, I would be encouraged by a little unhoped for success. At others, I would be in the deepest despair because of accidents and failures resulting from my inexperience. I was only 15 when I finished my high school studies, always having held first rank in my class. The fatigue of growth and study compelled me to take almost a year's rest in the country. I then returned to my father in Warsaw, hoping to teach in the free schools. We should not allow it to be believed that all scientific progress can be reduced to mechanisms, machines, gearings, even though such machinery also has its beauty. Neither do I believe that the spirit of adventure runs any risk of disappearing in our world. In 1903, I finished my doctor's thesis and obtained the degree. At the end of the same year, the Nobel Prize was awarded jointly to Becquerel, my husband and me, for the discovery of radioactivity and new radioactive elements. When radium was discovered, no one knew that it would prove useful in hospitals. The work was one of pure science. And this is a proof that scientific work must not be considered from the point of view of the direct usefulness of it. All my mind was centered on my studies, which, especially at the beginning, were difficult. In fact, I was insufficiently prepared to follow the physical science course at the Sorbonne, for, despite all my efforts, I had not succeeded in acquiring in Poland a preparation as complete as that of the French students following the same course. Sometimes I had to spend a whole day mixing a boiling mass with a heavy iron rod nearly as large as myself. I would be broken with fatigue at the day's end. Other days, on the contrary, the work would be a most minute and delicate fractional crystallization, in the effort to concentrate the radium. Unknown in Paris, I was lost in the great city, but the feeling of living there alone, taking care of myself without any aid, did not at all depress me. If sometimes I felt lonesome, my usual state of mind was one of calm and great moral satisfaction. In 1906, just as we were definitely giving up the old shed laboratory where we had been so happy, there came the dreadful catastrophe which took my husband away from me and left me alone to bring up our children and, at the same time, to continue our work of research. The death of my husband, coming immediately after the general knowledge of the discoveries with which his name is associated, was felt by the public, and especially by the scientific circles, to be a national misfortune. The first experiments on the biological properties of radium were successfully made in France, with samples from our laboratory, while my husband was living. During the year 1894, Pierre Curie wrote me letters that seemed to me admirable in their form. No one of them was very long, for he had the habit of concise expression, but all were written in a spirit of sincerity and with an evident anxiety to make the one he desired as a companion know him as he was. Pierre Curie came to see me and showed a simple and sincere sympathy with my student life. Soon he caught the habit of speaking to me of his dream of an existence consecrated entirely to scientific research, and he asked me to share that life. My experiments proved that the radiation of uranium compounds elements can be measured with precision under determined conditions, and that this radiation is an atomic property of the element of uranium. During the course of my research, I had occasion to examine not only simple compounds, salts and oxides, but also a great number of minerals. I met Pierre Curie for the first time in the spring of the year 1894. A Polish physicist whom I knew, and who was a great admirer of Pierre Curie, one day invited us together to spend the evening with himself and his wife. In chemical terms, radium differs little from barium. The salts of these two elements are isomorphic, while those of radium are usually less soluble than the barium salts. Thanks for watching. Please